Marko here from Fair Realty. Today I'm talking about the cooling off period coming into effect in British Columbia, January 1st, 2023. So first of all, what is the cooling off period? You may have not heard about this. Essentially, it's a right of rescission for the buyer, where the buyer, he or she, can change their mind within 3 business days of making an unconditional contract at a fee of 0.25%. So it's 3 business days, not including Saturdays, Sundays, and stat holidays in BC. So what does this look like in real life practice? Buyer makes the seller an offer on a Tuesday for $1 million, unconditional, no conditions, but they have 3 business days to change their mind. So on the Thursday, they can say, sorry, we're not moving forward with this offer, and they own the seller $2,500 on $1 million purchase, which is 0.25%. This legislation was the idea of the government back in the springtime. I personally think it's a stupid idea, but how this was brought about is in the springtime, 70% of properties were selling above asking price and huge bidding wars. Everyone was blaming realtors for orchestrating all these bidding wars. Everyone was blaming sellers for being super greedy and taking offers 200,000 above asking. Well, fast forward 7-8 months, only 4% of properties right now in Victoria are selling above asking price. So we went from 70% over asking to 4% over asking. Let me ask you, what happened? Did we realtors all go on vacation? Did sellers decide all of a sudden, oh, we're not going to be greedy anymore? Instead of accepting prices over asking, we're going to accept prices below asking? No. It's simple economics 101. Interest rates went dramatically up, which really hampered demand. And that simply caused the market to soften, where the vast majority of properties are now selling below asking price. Demand has been taken out of the marketplace. This legislation, come January 1st, it's going to do absolutely nothing, especially next year, because the vast majority of offers right now are conditional offers. So come January 1st, essentially nothing is going to change. I do have issues with this legislation long term. It adds more paperwork to the process. So we as realtors are going to have to disclose these as 0.25% fees to the buyer, to the seller, etc. This legislation also, other than buying votes from the voters, who is it supposed to actually help? It's certainly not going to help the sellers. Is it going to help people trying to get into the marketplace? I'm going to say no, and this is why I think no, because savvy, experienced buyers, or those people working with a savvy, experienced agent, they're going to find ways to get around this legislation. And let me give you one of the many examples I've thought about. For example, let's say in 5 years, the market's crazy again, everything's selling in a bidding war. You have a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo, 3 first-time buyers make an offer on it, they make unconditional offers on it, and they have the 3-day rescission period, and their penalty is 0.25%. And let's say the condo is $500,000, so the penalty would be $1,250. A savvy investor is going to come in and say, okay, I'm competing against 3 other people. I really want this condo. They're going to ask an experienced agent, how do I make my offer more attractive? One of the ideas I came up with that's legal and simple is you make an offer subject for 4 days, so you get around this cooling off period, and you make the deposit non-refundable. So you say, okay, seller, here's $500,000. I'm not going to do an unconditional offer for the 3-day rescission period and the 0.25% penalty. I'm going to do 4 days subject to financing, but within 24 hours, I'll give you $100,000 non-refundable deposit. What do you think the seller is going to go for? Are they going to go with a $100,000 non-refundable deposit, which is essentially an unconditional offer? The investor is not going to walk away from $100,000 in a $500,000 condo. Or are they going to risk it with one of the other 3 unconditional offers that only has to pay a penalty of 0.25%? I don't think this legislation is really going to help anyone, in my opinion. I also have some concerns about money laundering because deposits are going to be due up front. And then, for example, you could make an offer on a $5 million house, have $1 million deposit. It's going to be payable up front because how else are we going to retrieve the $2,500 from the buyer? And then when the buyer collapses that offer, the brokerage is cutting a bank draft from that trust account minus $2,500 back to the buyer who might be taking that bank draft into a different account. Money laundering is not, as people think, just dealing with cash. There's many different avenues to it, and I don't know if the government fully thought about that, but basically, I don't really see a point in this legislation. You're not going to really see it play out, especially next year. And when you do see it play out one day when the market picks up again, I do think it's going to put actually first-time buyers, inexperienced buyers at a disadvantage against sophisticated buyers. So who is it really helping? That's it for this week. Marko, Juras, Fair Realty.